Hey folks, how's it going? My name's Dustin Cormier and welcome to How to Rock Astrology. Today we are going to be delving into what it's like when the sun, the personality of someone with the sun in Sagittarius and Mars also in Sagittarius. There's a few things to be said about this particular combination. I'm going to say my own few words and then I'm going to read from Erotic Astrology by Phyllis Vega to give us a sort of the sense of the sexual, erotic chemistry of the brain of a person with Sun and Mars in the same sign of Sagittarius. They're not necessarily conjunct here, although in a certain way, in Vedic astrology, any two planets that are in the same sign are like associated with each other. They're kind of conjunct in a way. So yeah, there's in any combination, you can talk about the aspect as well as the sign dignity of both and the closeness to exaltation. These are the three things I usually go by in these videos. So I'm going to speak to the conjunction soon. Yeah, basically. I should now. The sun being conjunct Mars is actually a really good thing. These two planets are friends to each other. You'll notice, for example, that basically the Earth and air signs are ruled by Saturn, Mercury, and Venus, right? Taurus and Libra are both Earth and air, ruled by Venus. Gemini and Virgo, Earth and air, it's Mercury. So opposite to that, those planets tend to be friends with each other. Opposite to that is the Sun, Moon, Jupiter, and Mars owning the fire and water signs. So they're kind of friends and they all get along because they're all coming from the inspiration of the spirit and the soul and the psychology, the security of the psyche, rather than about laws, statutes, objective history, facts, earth, and air on the outside. So Mars and the sun being conjunct is good, or being in the same sign rather is good. They're in the same house, they're affecting the same area of life, and in each other's presence they enliven each other and enrich each other. The sun gives a spiritedness, a constancy, a identity, a responsibility to Mars. The sun gives opportunity, responsibility, being seen by other people, being put in the hands of important people in order to do what the sun, what Mars does. The sun gives Mars spirit, and Mars gives the sun a sense of refinement and endurance, and a sense that I can squeeze the most out of the power that is my sun. So this thing can kind of go two ways. The sun is always enlivened here, and that's like a cool thing. Sun is a great planet to be enlivened by Mars, its friend. Even though it is malefic, Mars is a malefic planet, and it can burn the sun out, especially if it's in like Libra, or any combination where the sun is kind of ill-placed. Ultimately, this Mars is always helping the sun. Even if Mars and the sun are within a degree apart, the sun is helped and enriched by that. What is the unfortunate thing that can happen when the sun is about within 8 degrees or so of the Mars is that it can ruin what Mars represents to the ascendant, to its house rulership, to whatever Mars is to the chart. And it can kind of agitate the sexuality and capacity for virility that would usually otherwise be said about the Sun-Mars conjunction. So if these are within a 10-degree orb or so, give or take, depending on the strength of Mars. Mars has strength, otherwise it might not always totally mess the Mars up. I mean, it never totally messes Mars up. I actually have Sun-Mars conjunction in my chart, and I have the ability to express endurance and all these things. So it depends on the circumstances of Mars as to whether this combustion will really agitate it that bad. But Mars yeah, Mars can be combusted by the sun, not the other way around, obviously. And this can damage the implications of this otherwise well-placed Mars. So consider, after 10 degrees, this is a great positive placement, but after 10 degrees of orb aspect. But within 10 degrees of orb, where Sun and Mars are like within 10 degrees closeness to each other, this can burn out this person's ability to be confident, to be inspired, to take advantage of their inspiration through Mars, because it's being agitated by the Sun's responsibility and pushiness that the Mars can kind of blow itself out, taking on too much responsibility, biting off more than it can chew, and damaging its nobility, damaging its drive and its capacity to stably channel the Sun's energy. If Mars gets too close to the Sun, then it starts taking on too much energy related to itself, and it can just waste energy and miss appointments and fail at things and not really stably hold down what Mars is trying to do for the Sun. In this situation, Mars and the Sun are both acting as like king and general at the same time, in the same place and in the same sort of vein. Mars is the general of the Sun, so it's inspiration of Jupiter that brings what the Sun is inspired to also do, which is also Sagittarian Jupiter. Mars really helps the Sun here again, and this is good for the Sun because the Sun is pretty close to the Libra still, its debilitation point. The Sun here is being like, exaltation works by proximity. The Sun is only 2 signs away from its debilitation point, and so it's still considering its energy through the lens of other people in a way, although this is like an idealistic, culture-bound sense of the self. The Sun puts the pressure of others. It looks to what others would be inspired by. That's what Sagittarius acts on. And it's not exactly coming from within the wellspring of inspiration and soul within the self. That's more of an Aries thing. Aries just is a pioneer and hacks at its own purpose and learns how to make the world work for Aries. Sagittarius here learns a lot about the world and caters to the ways of the world and can lose a bit of themselves in the process sometimes. At least as is the nature of the Sun, their own consistent dharma. Sagittariuses can be great philosophers, and they're ruled by Jupiter, and that philosophical edge, if Jupiter is well placed especially, and well placed to the Sun especially, and Mars. So Jupiter can really increase one's ability to be wise and to not waste time and all these sorts of things. So if Jupiter is well placed to the Sun, then the Sun in Sagittarius will be philosophically like they'll express dharma if they understand dharma through Jupiter. But while Sagittarius has a good strong sense of how to actualize dharma through the Sun, through its responsibility, like the Sun in Aries has been doing it from the beginning already in a lot of ways. That's just the difference between them two. But I digress. It's just the fact that the Sun is still close to Libra here. It shows that the Sun is still acting on what it thinks other people will find glorious. And it loses a bit of energy in trying to discover that. Mars saves that Sun by knowing. Mars pushes the Sun to not just know what is the best thing to do, but it's actively, athletically, energetically. Mars is pushing the Sun out to affirmatively manifest its whatever Leo means to the ascendant of the chart, to manifest itself, to manifest its creative vision. Mars pushes the Sun through any conjunction. Here, what that theme relates to is Sagittarius. Traveling, art, expression, expansion, clever, hilarious, honest, earnest expression of oneself. This could probably be a very funny energy, a very expansive energy. Look to the placement of Jupiter in this particular combination to see the backdrop of the philosophical bone structure that the Sun and Mars will be riding on. In any case, this is by dignity. This is just a good placement because, again, the Sun and Mars are not only friends to each other, but they're also friendly to Jupiter, which rules Sagittarius. So that adds an ease to what the Sun and Mars both are doing generally. Mars being so close to Capricorn here obviously also helps to bring the Sun into, bring the energy of the person into its best expression. So the Sun here has a positive inspiration through the conjunction to Mars and by being in the sign of a friend. And the Mars here has the energy. It aligns itself with activities, as long as it's not combust. The Mars here can align itself with activities and discipline itself to really take an energetic, even pushy, organizing, logical nature where they can organize people, they can organize structures, and they can endure a lot for the sake of their noble cause, their noble feeling that what they're doing is valuable to the world. Sagittarian Sun inspiration mindset. Mars can really push that Sun to do that here because this is like the third best place for Mars. The second best being Mars in Scorpio, and the first best being Mars in Capricorn, where it's exalted. But again, when Mars is in Sagittarius, it's one house away from its exaltation point, which means it's in the area of its best strength in the sign of a friend, Sagittarius. So if the Mars isn't combust but is in the same sign as the Sun, they're both really helping each other, and this is a great placement for the expansion of ambition, the expression of Jupiterian, all things Jupiter, all things Sagittarius. If this person has a well-placed Jupiter, which is close to Cancer, its exaltation point, or it's close to the ascendant cusp, or it's in a trine to a benefic or to one of its friends. If it's in trine, if this Jupiter is in, say, like, Leo or Aries, trine to this conjunct Mars and Sun, then it will add its benefic nature to those things, and they will add their friendly rays to Jupiter, because they are also about inspiration. That's what Jupiter is about. So that'd be a deadly trine. I'm just trying to show you guys that, consider the context, especially of Jupiter, to show whether the ethic and the thing, to show that this person will be aligned with whatever role they choose to act this divine impulse through. If it fits in line with it, they have this divine impulse to be an actor. And so they decide to work, this is like, let's say Sun and Mars. They have this divine impulse to be an actor and to use and craft their mind so that they can make this cool expression of the human soul. Jupiter is in Capricorn, so they decide to go into retail, sell makeup or something, because they can be very convincing and good and enduring and concise, and their acting skills of selling people crappy makeup that maybe they really don't even care that much about. Eventually maybe they turn that skill into being a telemarketer where they can sell things very well. This is an example of, like, does that, if that, I don't know, I guess maybe that would fit the inspiration of some people. The point is that ideally the Jupiter being well placed would show that this person is, like, really actively in a noble, inspired way using the Sun and Mars conjunction energy, that consistent energy. It's It's a cool, interesting placement. Now, we've just talked an awful lot about the Sun and Mars conjunction in Sagittarius, the nature of it. I want to get into some juicy conversation about what this sign structure is like. This is Erotic Astrology by Phyllis Vega. We are about to embark into the Sun in Sagittarius, the erotic psyche of Sagittarius. I'm going to be adding in the thought that Mars is conjunct here. I'm going to pepper it in. But right now, we just want to get into the psyche of the Sun in Sagittarius. Afterwards, we're going to consider what does having Mars also in Sagittarius bring to that psyche, right? Okay, this is Sagittarius Sun in bed. Sagittarians make charming, charismatic lovers who are affectionate, straightforward, and sincere. Someone out for a good time need look no further than a Sagittarius. In bed, no other sign is as sexy or as much fun as this character. Although most archers are strongly sexed, what they really care about is friendship and the experience of love. Whereas the youthful archer may become involved in steamy affairs with several different partners, the older Sagittarius often settles down with one person. The double, especially if this Mars is agitated, this might be a person who has a hard time holding to the logical responsibility to one committed relationship. If these are combust, that might be very tough for this person to do, because the Sun has this buoyant, optimistic inspiration to experience the heights of its own authoritative grasp on the world as the Sun doing its thing, the soul captivating the world. That the Mars's genuine, authentic sense of noble responsibility, the duty that Mars is supposed to help refine the Sun through. If the Mars gets too close to the Sun, it gets obliterated by the Sun's egoic gloriousness that it wants to have, and the Sun enjoys itself a little too much without taking advantage of Mars's refinement. And so yeah, Mars deeply combusts the Sun here. We'll have more of this like playboy wanderlust. Later on in life, some natives of this sun sign, Sagittarius, seem to forget about sex altogether, especially if their attention is totally focused on interesting work or an engaging project or hobby. They have this way of they can transmute their sexual energy. Sagittarius in general is kind of known for that. Sagittarians relish the thrill of the chase. Once a relationship starts settling down, the archer strives to keep things exciting. Above all, you want to have a good time with your beloved. Although you express your sexual feelings easily and passionately, when the sex is over, you want to move on to something else. You're not into 24-hour togetherness, but you thoroughly enjoy doing interesting things with your partner, particularly outside in the open air. I mean, this is doubly true. A lot of this will be doubly true for the fact that Mars is also in Sagittarius. Sagittarius Sun thinks that sharing physical activities such as dancing or working out together gets them pumped for lovemaking, the athleticism of it. You also enjoy sex al fresco. Al fresco, every time I see that, I think, do they mean like bare or like, like without a condom or something? I don't know. Under the stars, the boardwalk, or the bleachers, you're turned on by the carefree abandon of following your impulses wherever they may lead. Although disinterested in emotional game playing, you do enjoy being seduced by sexy attire and other exotic enchantments to sensual pleasure. exotic enhancements, that is, to sensual pleasure. Spicy sexual banter liberates your quick wit and increases your anticipation of the sensual delights to follow. Since Sagittarius is associated with the hips and thighs, light stroking of your inner thigh inflames all of your erogenous zones. Fooling around with sex toys and naughty novelties stirs your imagination and energizes your libido. Erotic bedroom fun is your ultimate turn-on, and seductive teasing and touching wakens your desire and heightens the ensuing ecstasy. A lot of touching goes on for Jupiter. Jupiter is like the inner indwelling dimension of the soul, reaching with its fingers, with its feelings, with its like a lot of erotic neurons. You know, they say that the sacral chakra, the second chakra, which holds a lot of sexual energy, is actually ruled by Jupiter in tropical Vedic astrology. Aquarius and Capricorn, Saturn rule the root, and then Sagittarius and Pisces, sacral chakra, second chakra. Then Aries and Scorpio are the third chakra, solar plexus, etc. So, Sagittarius kind of simultaneously has energy going on with the second chakra, that sexual genital sort of vibe, as well as the thighs. So now that we've just talked about the Sun in Sagittarius, let's have a reading finally of Sun in Sagittarius with Mars in Sagittarius to kind of bring these two elements together in one reading. Obviously, they're going to be similar to everything we've just heard, but there is, something that's going to refine the reading of Sagittarius here by adding Mars into the equation. So it's the same book, Erotic Astrology, by Phyllis Vega. We are about to read Sun in Sagittarius with Mars in Sagittarius. Emotionally, you are a paradox. On one hand, love is a grand and glorious gesture and an adventure. On the other hand, loyalty and fidelity can be difficult for you to sustain. Again, the context of the chart is generally going to define whether this is true. This is that's a broad statement. Not every person with Sun and Mars and Sagittarius is going to have trouble with loyalty and fidelity. The combust Mars will certainly agitate the person's ability to stay committed to its given chosen ideals. Also, Jupiter will show whether their inspired activities will reap the fruit of actual enjoyment. And in love, including in love. And Venus is going to really say whether you find it fulfilling to use love in a committed way, even if you have that agitated Sun and Mars. That agitated Mars, rather. The Sun doesn't get agitated, like I said, not by Mars. Although your intentions are sincere, you lose interest once the initial excitement fades. In an intimate union, intellectual companionship counts as much as physical compatibility, and spontaneity and fun matter more to you than passion. In the bedroom or out, your approach to lovemaking is fun, wildly experimental, and geared towards new ways of expanding your sexual horizons. Spending time outdoors with your partner and making love under the stars invigorates you and soothes your restless spirit. Lovely. It's a nice little reading. It's kind of a hot time. Sagittarius and Mars together like that can just make for a very wildly Saturn-like, pushy, fun, experimental energy. And it's not just in the inspiration, it's like by enjoying the sex of Mars in this explorative way, in this naturally explorative way, it brings out the sun's desire even more to get the furthest extent that they can of the sun's constancy, that sexual energy, that enjoyment, that responsibility to the ambition to be glorious for its own sake. And that includes sexuality. Sexuality involves that 10th house-ish, authoritative look in your lover's eyes of the act of this thing, the full picture of what you are as a human presenting yourself to another human. And this mutual positivity of Sun and Mars is pretty much typically a good thing, although it can be agitating, as it is said, generally, because these planets are both hot malefics, and they're both setting this house. Whatever Sagittarius rules by house, these two are setting on fire. But that fire can be channeled into some fun things. Anything can be done and directed towards the proper roots if we understand it through self-realization. You know, that fun stuff. Anyway, folks, this has been fun. I'm Dustin Cormier for Erotic Astrology. I'm pretty tired. I've been doing these videos, just all bunch of them in one night, so next time I do another video, I might be in a different shirt or something. But this has been How to Rock a Campfire. I'm Dustin Cormier. If you enjoyed this, you know, feel free to leave a comment if you like, and feel free to subscribe too, because if you did enjoy this, I've always got more videos coming out about different things. I've got my sextrology series where I'll eventually be doing a Sun and Sagittarius sextrology. So keep your eyes peeled, folks, because we always got more stuff coming through. Thanks for watching. See you later.